Space Commander.
Space Commander. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's Saturday.
Aha. Oh, well, lucky for you, it's Saturday. I had to work today. Do you
Oh
know?
no!
Do you know? The last time we did an incoming transmission was almost a year ago. It was in May.
Wow. Yeah, I quite
Yeah,
believe it.
it's
This last year has been hectic and crazy, and sometimes in a good way.
there must be some space-time continuum thing happening where everything seems to be going too fast, except for a Monday, which goes too damn slow still.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the theory of relativistic time dilation is all back to front because we have a weekend that's only 2 days and a working week which is 5. Who came up with that idea?
That's a lousy idea, and I hate it. But what's a great idea is the Lilith tuning in. Thanks for showing up, buddy. We're looking forward to getting the Lilith on the show whenever they're ready. No pressure. Speaking of no pressure, Spacey, we're doing a Star Wars theme. We're doing now certified, not ruined. We're talking classic Star Wars Kenner, which you've elected to tap out of and go, not for me. We'll talk Action Man and we'll talk Action Force after our guest, Brian, who will be joining us soon, after we go through a little bit of Star Wars and you do your very best to not stretch out and say, yawn with Perry, please. Good to see you, buddy.
I still, I still love the Star Wars I grew up with, but I find it very difficult to talk about it now without getting angry and
full force.
So exactly.
Yeah, look, I understand. I understand. And the problem is, and Stephen's here too. How are you, buddy? Yo. I understand because it's there was a big push to get the old fans out and bring some new fans in. And I don't know how well that worked because apparently they're changing the theme park into OG Star Wars now out of the new trilogy Star Wars.
Yeah, so we were right all along.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just feel as if for me the original trilogy is peak Star Wars, and that may be a lot of nostalgia there, right? Because we grew up with it and we love it. I do know that the generation after us that grew up with the prequel trilogy, they're really into it. And I wasn't against the prequel trilogy. I quite liked, for me personally, I enjoyed The Phantom Menace more than most of the other ones. I don't know what that says about me, but I like the pod racing. I like Duel of the Fates, and I enjoyed the very Flash Gordon-y style of Star Wars. I thought for the Phantom Menace, and it got a lot of hate afterwards. But at the time, it was so much hype. The hype was certainly there for the Phantom Menace, and I was lining up with the rest of the people to pick up the action figures. And I thought they were great. The accessories packs. Remember the accessories packs that came with the Phantom Menace toys? You could get scuba gear and stuff.
There was like a fish.
Yeah, there was a fish one. Yeah,
yeah. There was some. There's some really iconic moments and things that we really, when we think of Star Wars, things that come to mind include a lot of those iconic moments from the prequel trilogy. But it's some of the stuff that's happened since then. I'm trying to be a more positive person, and I certainly wouldn't want Brian to come on the show to talk about his book, and there's me grumbling and being a curmudgeon in the corner. So I'm trying to.
Well, it's part of your charm, Spacey. But I think that we are aligned as far as where our opinions of where Star Wars is now. I think that I have been able to find a few things to enjoy, maybe more than you. Like I quite liked the first season of The Mandalorian. I thought the first episode of The Mandalorian was peak television. I loved it. The style of the show went a little bit out there more than I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be just a bounty of the day, Western style, action-packed series, but it ended up just pivoting, I guess, which is fine, Star Wars' bootleg. I'm saying, come on. Come on now.
Plan
I
9.
like Star Trek as much as maybe a casual Star Trek fan can. I know that they have a lot of real in there fans that I've never been. But my favorite TV show for Star Trek, other than The Next Generation, was Voyager. I really liked Voyager. I really got behind that show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
No comment.
no. I'm just thinking about these days political correctness is such a minefield, and you really have to think about what you're saying so you don't upset someone, and then you still upset
Right.
half the room anyway. But I remember the internet was still in its infancy, so a lot of us nerds were getting our sort of sci-fi fix from magazines. And I remember this one magazine had a photograph of the action figure of a character called Black Vulcan, who was in the Super Friends cartoon back in the 70s.
Oh yes.
And this angry looking Black Vulcan was yelling. There was a speech balloon and a caption saying, "The first Black Vulcan my butt, I'll kick Tuvok's ass."
Oh man, I have to look that up.
So
Um,
so yeah, now you can see why I stopped to think before I
yeah.
said it. I have to word it right so I don't upset anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, I think I don't know. I don't think anyone that watches this show. Well, we're not sponsored, but we do love Pepsi Max.
I'm still trying to get sponsorship.
Yeah. I think anyone that watches this show knows that your opinion on this sort of stuff to do with the things that we loved as kids and how it's sort of gone into the future. So and I always think that it's for the best to just let it all out and be open about it. If it's not necessarily a positive view, well, that's fine, so long as it's something that you truly believe in. Some people will go out there and just rant about stuff for the sake of it, whether they believe in it or not. Turn the R2D2 upside down and he makes an awesome Portaloo for Cyclone Army. Just kidding. Star Wars is a great movie as the original movies. Yeah. Well, I think R2D2 is definitely one of the most iconic droids slash robots of our childhood. Can you think of one that is as iconic as R2D2 that is still recognized today?
Wow. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, Tweaky from Buck Rogers immediately springs to mind. But like you say, how relevant is that today?
mm.
I love that show and those characters, but most youngsters these days wouldn't know what you were talking about if you brought that up. Although there is a rumor they are working on it on a reboot, but we'll see how that goes.
There's rumor of a reboot for Firefly too. I hope that happens. I loved Firefly. Serenity, I kind of liked the movie, kind of liked it, but the TV show, I loved Firefly. So good. Um, in other news, Spacey, I'm heading down your way, or up your way, or around your way. In October, we're going to catch up for a sneaky pint, sing some beers, and then, I don't know, whatever else happens.
Yep, Mrs. Space Commander and I will be departing from the space station and heading back down to England, and hopefully catch up with you. And I don't know, because where I grew up, we're in the middle of a forest, so I don't know. We'll have to find something to do.
Mate, if there
Although,
is a local pub and we can sink some beers, that's all I need. Like, all you got to give an Aussie is a pint of beer and he's happy. Stephen got to meet the actor who played Twicky.
that's Felix Silla, I think.
There you go.
Of course, the voice was Mel Blanc, famous voice actor, and
Yeah, I did not know that. Knowing is half the battle.
he's half the battle.
I got a
And
clip for that. How
you
far? How far
have,
down is that? Hang on. How far away is that clip? Here it is.
Because knowing is half the battle.
Space Commander.
it's not two sideburns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Enough time has gone by that you've had to remeasure.
yeah. I think the actor who played Dr. Theopolis I think it was Eric Server, and Dr. Theopolis, or Doc Theo, was the little round computer. It was like a face computer
All right.
that hung around Tweaky's neck. It looked like Flavor from Public Enemy.
Flavor Floob.
Yeah.
So the Lilith is saying, don't forget the Palmer. Do you say Palmer or Palmy? I say Palmy, not Palmer, so we might have to fight about that, Lilith. But I'm an uneducated person, so I'm happy to be wrong.
What is
And I
that?
never claim to be the smartest. What's a Palmy?
Yeah.
Chicken that's crumbed and fried, and I guess sometimes cheese and ham put on it. What do
All
you What
right.
do you have? What do you have as your pub meal to go to?
Oh, pub meal. Um, I don't know. It's tricky because of I feel so sorry for Mrs. Space Commander because she loves to try different things to eat and exotic flavors and everything. And of course, my digestive system is all completely screwed up, and I
Right.
can't even handle bread and water. So sausages are usually pretty good. If I can get those in a pub, that'll be fine. But a lot of the time, I try to avoid eating out. Um, and of course, food does get in the way of the alcohol, so we have to avoid.
Well, that's what they say. They say eating is cheating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tend to Palmer is a Victorian way of saying it. Okay, well therefore I'll never say that I'm wrong when Victorians on the other end of the argument. However, speaking, we had some royalty show up today from I guess your almost neck of the woods.
All
Some
right.
I don't know who they are. Maybe you know who was showing up in Australia. I mean, I'm sure it's on Facebook. I don't know. Some maybe a king and a queen of was it Danish? The Danish? I don't know.
Oh, really?
Possibly. I don't follow that. Pub meal. Here's Gaz. There's really only one choice. Really, grilled cheese, toasted cheese, and fries. Now, don't forget the crayons. If you ever get to have a meal with Gaz, it is an event. And I highly recommend it, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Gaz is the guy to bring the entertainment and the
I
colouring in pencils.
I picked up something for Gaz just recently.
Well, Gaz gave me this to give to you, and I've only been a bit of a dickhead and kept it. So,
No, that's fine. Fine.
so I'm going to bring it with me, and we'll have sausages and brewskis.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's something to do with the tariffs or something. But at the moment, I can't get anything sent over from the States. So
Yeah, right.
Gaz, I saw some things on eBay last night. Some little accessories that I need to help me complete some toy restorations I'm doing. And I can't get the pieces, so I might have to talk to you guys about maybe helping me out. But
Well, interestingly, I only just got the tracking for that. What was it? A comic or something that I picked up for you. What was that?
oh, yeah,
Was it Rock Lords?
yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that
Right.
was
So
yeah. So I
I don't know what's
found
going on, but I only just got the tracking for that. So
I
things must just be slowing down right now.
I don't know, but I found I found that comic on eBay, and I found several different sellers selling it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but eBay's doing this thing now where if you look at something, you don't have to click it on and put it in your watch list. You can just glimpse at something, and then like a day later, you'll get an email from the seller saying, "Oh, I see that you were interested in this item. Would you like to do a deal
Oh
or
yeah.
something?" So I looked at several of these comics, and like a day or two later, I had all these messages saying, would you like to buy it? And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's do a deal, And the transaction went ahead up to the point where you put in the shipping address. As soon as I put in, because the supply station that supplies everything to us up in space is based in the UK. So as soon as I put in there, we're in the UK, that was it. Couldn't go forward with the transaction. But a while
Right.
back, Gaz, bless him, he picked up a load of old school Battlestar Galactica stuff that I had my eye on, and bless him, he sent it over without any quibble or anything. And I was like, well, I owe you for postage, surely, And he's like, oh no, it's fine, it's fine, fine. So I saw a little something, a toy fair, me and a buddy from work. We went to last weekend. I saw something, a little surprise. I'm
Oh,
also
nice. Well, I've often said Gaz is the best of us. He's a great man. Just don't get into a conversation about the Hydro Viper. Uh, Never goes well. Speaking of Hydro Viper, I just pre-ordered and am now getting it sent. The new Super 7 Action Force inspired
Aha.
Hydro Viper. So you may not agree with the idea of it, Gaz, but I pre-ordered 3. I think three's enough for as far if you're gonna army build 3. I think for the Hydro Viper and in this particular iteration, 3's fine, right? Because then you can have just the central guy and then 2 like a little. I like to make him a little triangle. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. But so long as you have like a central leader and then a couple flanking them, it looks better than just 1 or 2.
In
And 4
Chevron.
is weird. 4 is weird. So gotta have one central guy.
Yeah. You need your 2 wingmen is what you need.
Right, exactly. Speaking of having 2 wingmen, there's a possibility, Space Commander, that not only I will be there, but Adam could also be coming down. Now he won't sink any beers, but he might at least partake in some action figure adventures with us.
Crikey, it's not enough. I've got to find stuff for you to do when you visit, but also him now. Oh no, I'm sure it'll be
Well,
fine.
he's bringing Heather along, so I'm sure that they'll find plenty of stuff to do. And I am not, so long as I'm not locked in the toilet, which we know from previous experiences has happened. You can relate. So long as I'm not locked in a bathroom, I'm fine. Like just all I need is a brewski, a buddy, a beer, and maybe Sarge standing at the table,
Gonna
or
say,
Sergeant Slammer, as he'll be known over there.
a pocket full of action figures, and down the pub we go.
That's right. But we're going to go see a concert. And I had a bit of a look. This guy, Steve Hackett, he's doing a little bit of a mini world tour. He actually started it over in Florida, I believe.
Yeah. It's interesting. The guys from Genesis all seem to be working at the moment, all separately from each other, but still doing. This tour, Steve Hackett is Genesis material. So
It is. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, basically we're getting a Genesis show.
Love it. Now, if only they do Mike and the Mechanics tour, then we can tick that one off the list too. It wasn't until I started watching music videos for when I got a little bit older, I was really getting into music videos, and I was watching some Mike and the Mechanics. I was like, "That's the guy from Genesis." Wait a minute, that's the guy's name from Mike and the Mechanics. I'm trying to think. I think it's Mike. Is it Rutherford?
Yeah.
Great guitarist. Great band, Genesis. And as much as, I'm a big Phil Collins fan, so sorry to say, I prefer the Phil Collins Genesis.
Oh, you have to apologise for that, mate.
Well, sometimes you do. I know we get some Phil Collins fans, especially Gaz. I know Gaz likes a bit of Phil Collins, especially when we're talking about some of his favourite TV shows where Phil Collins happens to pop in. Actually, I played Grand Theft Auto. There was, I think it was called Vice City Stories, and you get to actually interact with Phil Collins, and he voices himself in the game, and you have to be like a bodyguard while he's doing his tour. And I was like, this is great. What would have been? It must have been in my 20s by the time that came out. I was like, perfect, love it. Favorite game so far. Phil Collins in a Grand Theft Auto game. All right. But I think, obviously they got a little bit poppier towards the end, but you got some really cool songs in there too. Like I quite like Home by the Sea. Home by the Sea 2 sounds like it's the video game version of Home by the Sea. Like if they made a video game for Home by the Sea, that would be the song that they play in it. Different one. Also different to the Mega Drive. Those playing at home.
So bringing it back to Star Wars, I think Star Wars, the arcade, the home version of the arcade game and the arcade game itself, of the very first Star Wars game, I think that was the first time I'd heard an actor's voice coming out of the video game, because they had the sound bites from the film of Sir Alec
All right.
Guinness playing Ben Kenobi. He
True.
would
Okay.
he would say, as you're flying your X-wing down the trench, he'd be like, use the Force. But there's of course the Star Wars action figures that were produced in the UK were produced by Palitoy, and
Right.
Palitoy made Action Force. So there was some cross-pollination there. You might find a couple of sneaky little bits of molding that you recognise from Star Wars, but it's appearing on an Action Force vehicle or an Action Force accessory instead. They were clever in the way they reused parts and pieces and ideas. The famous the Palitoy Death Star, which is basically the Action Force headquarters. But yeah, Brian, if he's I know he's running a bit late, but here's why does this never work? Okay, so my Palitoy story. There we go. So we've got some Star Wars and some Action Force on the front there, and some Action Man down here, and Cindy. And what he's working on at the moment is like a revised version of this with a lot more added material. Told Toys did Star Wars. Sorry, I misread that. So it'll be interesting to see what additions are being made, and more interviews and photographs and all kinds of items from the Palitoy treasure trove.
Well, I've got all the links in the description if people want to check out some of these books. Hang on, I've got a thing for that too.
Check it out one time, won't you?
Yeah, always worth a read. So last May was our last incoming transmission. Do you know who our guest was for our last incoming transmission?
Was that Brian as well?
It was Brian as well. When you find a good one, you stick with it.
Yeah, he's been a busy boy of late.
Oh man, technology! How great is technology? Look at that.
I know.
It looked like it coming out of the face.
There we go.
Nice.
Everyone said, use chroma key, it'll be great. No, it's not. It's right mess.
Well, we're making the best of what we got. We've never been great with the technology, Space Commander. We've never been great with it. You got better. I think I got worse.
Oh,
and now we're somewhere in the middle. We've balanced each other out.
Oh dear. So, have you been to any toy shows lately or anything?
No. Well, I went to Bali, and while we were there, we went to a shopping mall which I didn't expect to see there, and there were plenty of Star Wars and stuff. I actually picked up something while I was in Perth, just at a regular toy shop. It's some of that 5 POA Super 7 stuff.
Yeah.
I got one of these to send to Nate as well. I've got a lot of things to send to Nate. You know what I do with them? I hoard them, and then they never get sent out. But they will, I promise. And the figures that came in this, oh, look at us go. We love this.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. So I really wanted it for the robot in the center there.
Yeah.
It looks pretty
Happy
cool.
birthday, Bali.
Yeah. Hail Cobra Commander, the great snake rules forever. So you get a Snake Eyes in Cobra outfit, and you get a Shipwreck in Cobra outfit. Some cool droid, and also that same machine that they talk into. And I thought that might be fun for when I do another of the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship, which it's pretty cool. Which I thought I would do. I thought I would do that show. Like every month I'm going to bring out a new episode, and I did not realize how hard it is just to get your toys to do the things you want them to do. But you always nail it as Action Man. Gaz is coming back as Ken Masters. It's going to be a fun one. And poor Phil's coming back as Andre the Giant after just doing E Honda. I got to start giving him some. I mean, I think E Honda and Andre the Giant are some cool characters, but
Yeah.
I got to start giving him something a little bit better to work with. Maybe give him one of the Bushwhackers. He's a Kiwi boy, but I keep giving him these hefty fellas, and he's got to keep putting on this hefty voice to match.
Yeah, those episodes. If you haven't seen them, everybody go check them out. Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship.
Let's check him out one time.
The creativity you put into them, you know, taking these inanimate objects, these little action figures, and making them, you know, look as though they've come to life, you know, and without using AI.
Right, exactly. The AI would make it a lot easier now, I reckon. But the thing you find very quickly is, and you don't know it when you're a kid, right? And you know this because you love the 5POA stuff. When you're a kid, you don't realize there are any limitations. But when you want them to do something very specific, like if I want to put, if I want to make Sergeant Slaughter do the Cobra Clutch, a G.I. Joe doesn't work that way. You know, you gotta sort of use different angles and film it in such a specific angle, and it hope for the best. And then you could spend an hour to try and get some footage and only end up with 3 seconds worth of usable footage, which was like, great, perfect, that's just what I wanted. But then after they're done, I feel like, oh, this is good. Okay, you know, time well spent. But the last one being in Japan was actually the first time that I used real footage, because I did some of the Shinkansen going past Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
I thought it's too good not to put in there. I didn't overdo it, but it was fun. It was fun. Japan was a fun trip too. Got to catch up with Phil. Yeah. And I feel like I'm ticking off a bunch of dream moments. You know, getting to go and see Sarge, getting to go and see Adam, getting to go and see Phil, and then very soon going to go and see Space Commander. We're only months away, and I put it that way, you know, so that way I feel like it's not. Speaking of finally showing up, Brian the Hick. Now we're not gonna get all upset about it, Brian, but you're showing up fashionably late because we know that you had to go and pick up your little kitten. How are they? Are they all right?
He's doing good. He's doing good. He's out. I can see him outside my window there. He's just chilling out for a bit in the sunshine, looking a bit browned off.
The things we do for our beloved pets.
For sure. Sorry, I'm late, guys. And I didn't even have time to grab my Space Commander cap and bring that. It's in a different room. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's
That's all right.
a must.
So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Great to see you guys again, and it's been too long.
Well, I was just saying to Spacey that it's almost a year since our last incoming transmission, and our last guest was in fact you, almost that year ago. And we're just saying, well, you know, when you find a quality guest, you keep them around. So what we've decided to do today, Brian. Oh, by the way, Brian, I'm going to be in England in October. If you want to make the trip and come and have a beer with us, we're going to do our very best to get Space Commander smashed. As we call it in Australia. I don't know what you guys call it over there. What do you call it when you're really drunk?
Yeah, smashed works. Yeah.
Smashed? Yeah. We're going to get him hammered, and then we're going to do a live incoming transmission.
Oh, my goodness.
On vacation.
Oh, no. Awesome. I'm supposed to be a family-friendly action figure.
Well, we're gonna really test that. So... But there's only one rule. You have to bring a drinking buddy in the form of a 3 3/4 inch action figure. So I'll bring a Sergeant Slammer. Space Commander will bring a Sergeant Slammer. I mean, no, you'll bring a Space Commander.
I'll bring
and Brian, it's up to you.
Do you know what? I think I'll bring a Red Shadow or a Muton, something from the enemy faction, just to.
Yes. That's it. And after sinking a few pints, we might get into a little bit of a tabletop battle. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so we've put together a little show, Brian, where we're going to go through our 3 favorite Star Wars figures. You and I are. Space Commander's gone, nah, not doing it for his own personal reasons. So he's picked instead his 3 favorite Action Man, Action Force figures. So, and that'll be a nice way for us to then transition into some of the stuff that you've got coming up or have already brought out, Brian. And links are in the description. Live from the Corner Pub. Incoming transmission. All right, so we'll start off with the put together slides. Now, Brian, I don't often do slides. This is the most work I've ever put into anything. So if they're a little subpar, just roll with it.
Oh, yeah.
So we start off with, I gave you to pick 3, and you've gone with number 1, the TIE Fighter pilot. Yeah,
Joe, I've always loved so for me, as I've always been to army builders as a kid, and even still today, and I always thought the TIE Fighter pilot looks like a fantastic looking design, even in the movie. But then when the action figure came out, I think part of it was because I think I had to wait a long time before I actually got a TIE Fighter pilot action figure from my collection as a kid. So it was one that I always wanted, and when I did get it, I was like really, really chuffed. We didn't have the TIE Fighter as kids. We had the TIE Interceptor, but that was fine. That worked great, for us. So the TIE Fighter pilot, I love that kind of black and gray aesthetic with the little red highlights. That kind of Imperial kind of helmet design anyway is iconic, from the movies and how that translated into the toys. So yeah, he's definitely a major favorite of mine from my childhood, and still is to this day.
Did your figure?
Yeah, he does look great. What's that, Spacey?
When we were kids, me and all my mates, every TIE Fighter pilot action figure we had smelled like blackcurrant juice.
What were you dipping them in? Blackcurrant juice?
I don't know. It must. Maybe it was something. The ones that were over here. Maybe that was part of the manufacturing process. Maybe the dark coloured dye was derived from blackcurrants or something. But yeah, we had several.
Okay.
They all smelled the same.
There actually is a logical explanation for that.
See, I knew there would be.
Because in the factories that Palitoy were using over in Asia, they were also making the strawberry shortcake product as well. And there's a famous story where they got a batch of SAS uniforms for Action Man in, and they all smelled of strawberry. I don't think they released them to market, but it's not inconceivable that maybe some strawberry shortcake, perfume made its way into the Star Wars, manufacturing belt in Asia as well, and that got brought back over to Palitoy.
That's what SAS stands for, though, isn't it? Strawberry Aroma Squad.
That must be it. So I think this character, with or without the blackcurrant perfume, I think that he looks appropriately menacing. But I don't know. There's something about him that, and I think there's about a lot of characters when it comes to Star Wars, to be honest. But I feel like this could be your main guy, right? He could be one of your main characters that could lead your playtime, your story time. He just has a lot of character, and I quite like him. And the design with the Imperial signs on his helmet is also great.
Yeah, that's it's just a classic piece of kind of bad guy army builder design. Love it.
Yeah, it looks great. So we'll move on to your second pick, which was the Rebel Commando. Is that
the Rebel Commando? Another great army builder, and I actually have I probably have about 10 of these guys in my collection. But as a kid, I obviously I love the Endor kind of scene or various scenes in the movie, and I always thought the commandos looked fantastic, and because this guy kind of had the green kind of uniform, he would actually interchange between my Star Wars toys and my Action Force toys. So it was very often he might be part of the Z Force team on a Z Force mission. So and I loved as well that you could, the way that you got the strap kind of integrated into the blaster that could hook on his shoulder. So, you know, when he's off duty or at least not in action, he can kind of carry his blaster on his arm. So yeah, the Rebel Commando always been a big favorite of mine, and you know, and yeah, he doubles up with Z Force and Action Force. So happy days.
So would you do the other way around as well and bring in some of your Action Force guys into the Battle of Endor?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. If you needed to kind of flesh out that kind of you know, Rebel Commando task force for an Endor battle scene, you'd have like Z Force infantrymen in there, the you know, tracker, skip, the whole lot. They'd be in there too.
So it's basically, did you have? Oh yeah, he's got a whole fistful.
Here we go. Look at that.
Fistful of green.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, I think it looks cool too. Just enough detail on there so that you can also, you know, he's sort of got main character energy as well. Great sculpting on this dude, and coming with a cool accessory. I like him. I don't think I ever had this guy, but I could see why he would be popular. Now, for your third choice, Brian, you said Zuckuss, but I wasn't sure if you meant Forlom, so I picked both of those for you, because I know that famously, and maybe not with Palitoy, but I do know famously for Kenner, they switched the names.
That's right, they switched the name. So I'm obviously referring to the figure that was originally released as Zuckuss, you know, with the wrong names. That's the character on the left there in the image. And while not an army builder, as a kid, his design like really fascinated me. And like when I saw The Empire Strikes Back in the cinema, those scenes with the bounty hunters, I mean, they're almost like a blink and you miss it. But when I got the figure, I was like, where's he from in the film? It took me, you know, as a kid, I couldn't say where he was. I mean, Boba Fett has multiple appearances in the movie. Very easy to kind of, you know, like you don't forget Boba Fett, and you know exactly where he fits in the overall, you know, saga. But as a kid, Zuckuss, I only became aware of him as and I know his proper name is Forlom. I know that. But for the purposes of this call, he's Zuckuss. So I just thought it was a great looking design, you know, the android body and this kind of semi-organic looking kind of head.
Yes.
And I just thought that was cool. And of course, the blaster that he comes with, the blaster accessory, is this like really souped up looking, you know, like it looks like it's got packs a lot of punch. So sometimes I would even use that accessory with my Action Force figures when we need some heavy firepower.
Having that droid body that's very similar to C-3PO, that brings a lot to the mind about like what droids can be that we haven't previously seen in Star Wars at this point. And I always thought that the imagery of having an evil version, and I would see in sort of like different droids, whether they were in the Jawas, Sandcrawler, or if they were on the Death Star. But this guy, for some reason, was either programmed, and I can't remember the Legends history behind Forlom, but you know, whether he was programmed for bounty hunting or he's gone against his what I call it prime directive, and is now, and which I think he is more menacing looking than IG-88 even.
I totally agree. Totally. I mean, and I love how IG-88's been kind of, you know, brought back into the modern Star Wars continuity between the animated series and the live action stuff with Mandalorian. But I would love to see Zuckuss make an appearance somewhere. And I know there's other kind of, you know, droid-like bounty hunters that are similar in appearance to Zuckuss. I'm still calling them Zuckuss. I know it's for
yeah, that's fine.
But it's you know, I would love to see this character, you know, get reimagined or kind of, you know, brought back into the Star Wars, you know, live action or animation universe somehow. Because I just think he's a badass. Look at him there. He looks, the action figure looks better than the character from the actual film. He looks badass.
Yeah, he does. He looks really. I remember reading. I had the books Tales from the Cantina, which I thought was great, and I had Tales of the Bounty Hunters. But for some reason, the Tales of the Bounty Hunter book didn't stick with me quite as much as the Cantina one did. I was really into the Cantina aliens, and the Bounty Hunters were a little bit second to that. And I feel like at the time when I was a kid, you were either, particularly around my group of friends, you were either an Empire guy or a Star Wars guy. And because I felt like I was the only one that was super into the Cantina scene. Where everyone else is all over the bounty hunter scene. But I think now that the internet's exploded, a lot more people are coming out and saying, "Yeah, Cantina's great," which is good for me because I liked it. But these are your three choices: the bounty hunter, formerly known as Zuckers, and as Gaz has put it out there, he knows what's up. So you had and the rebel and the TIE fighter pilot, all good three choices.
Those two
Now I have my
hunters,
three
so-
choices as well. So, sorry to keep going with Star Wars. Spacey, did you have any of the bounty hunters?
Yeah. I was just going to say these two in particular were so iconic. I can remember when I was a little kid. I can remember where I bought them from. The gentleman on our right.
Any blues?
I got him in Ely in Cambridgeshire.
True.
And the gentleman on the left. I bought him from a toy shop in Lowestoft on the summer that Return of the Jedi came out. My older brother went to see Return of the Jedi at the cinema. At the time, I was only like 6 or something, and I was terrified of the dark, so I didn't go. But I do remember we went to the toy shop in Lowestoft while we were on holiday there, and I picked that guy up. So yeah, these two guys, they really stick with you, I think.
I think so too, and they're often paired together in the books as well as in people's collections, and typically only because they're stood side by side, right? That's probably the only reason why they are put together like that. But it is a really great scene. Bosk being the other bounty hunter that I think the only other one we haven't mentioned, and Dengar, right? Great cast of characters that would have been a great show all on its own. And of course, Boba Fett being the standout bounty hunter. Speaking of bounty hunters, my favorite bounty hunter is not Boba Fett, but in fact, Greedo. I was a Greedo kid. And as much as I know Han shot first. We all know that.
Yeah.
However, after Greedo got a hole blasted through him, you still kind of see Greedo walking around. And so in my kid mind, it was like Greedo lives. Right, I know they're different Rhodians in the movie, but I was like, no, he survived that fight. He's back as a bounty hunter. So Greedo was my guy. He was my bounty hunter. I know his outfit here doesn't look anything like what he had in the movie. Even the movie wasn't very consistent with the hands that they had. And I think I've seen one picture. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've seen a picture where Greedo, who was played by a woman, I can't remember her name, she was wearing heels on the day, and you can see some wide shots of her wearing her heels. I think that this is that scene that I'm talking about. The Bounty Bunch, exactly.
Bounty Bunch, love it.
So Greedo was my guy. I would watch the Cantina scene and then rewind it to the beginning and rewatch it again. Unfortunately, the special edition got rid of one of my favorite characters, like the Wolfman. They take him out. And they put some other 3D computer generated character in its place, and then they use that same character again just by turning the head around. They're like, hey, put him back in there. But yeah, Greedo was the top of my list, and then Lando in his disguise, skiff disguise.
Yeah.
This we don't need their scum. Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir. This was one of the last Star Wars toys I remember picking up. And I was in a Woolworths and they had a peg filled with, I guess they must have been maybe Power of the Force. I'm trying to remember what card Lando came on. Whether it was Return of the Jedi or Power of the Force or whatever it was. But either way, this was one of the last Star Wars figures I ever picked up. And I just thought it was great. Like, it's Lando, who was already cool, but now he comes with a cool helmet and a great outfit. So for sentimental reasons, I really dig this outfit. And I know in the Han Solo movie, they came up with this whole reason why he has that helmet, and where they got that from. It's like we don't need to know where everyone gets everything from, but I thought this was a great idea. How they didn't recognize Billy D. Williams and those gorgeous eyes, I'll never know.
I remember we got this figure for Christmas one year. Me and my brother. I'm not sure. I think it was my brother got it for Christmas, but I played with it a lot. But I look, you could kind of get him to hold that skiff staff with his two hands. You know, if you kind of jiggled it around right. And he just looked badass. And that the helmet, I think we even had the figure before we saw the movie. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but I think we might have done. You know, and I always thought he was great. A great figure to have.
Yeah, he is cool. And when you got a lot of different iconic looks for our characters in Return of the Jedi, right? So you've got Leia in her disguise. Chewie's grown his hair out, so he's got a little bit of a different look going on about him. Luke's come back in black.
Yeah.
And Lando gets his other than his general. I think he's a general, right, in Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Right. So earned, I guess. But other than his general look, he gets this really cool iconic look too. Now, for the last figure that I've picked, I'm cheating a little here, and it's for a good reason. But I'm going with, come on, do your thing. I'll do it this way. There we go. Now I know it's a little bit of a cheat here. However, the Wampa had probably the most playtime that we ever had, but also he went on the biggest adventure of any of our toys.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
We were visiting our grandparents' house in South Australia. We drove from the Northern Territory to South Australia, and we brought all our Star Wars toys with us. And we had Leia, and we had Luke, and we had the Wampa, and we were playing with these toys whilst outside with Bill the Cockatoo. Now, we were using. Now, I got to say, it was not our smartest idea, but we decided to incorporate Bill the Cockatoo into our playtime as an even bigger Wampa, right? Because it was a big white cockatoo. And so we were playing with our Star Wars toys, Leia and Luke, and then it was time to go to lunch. So we went to lunch, came back, and we found both Leia and Luke had been decimated by Bill the Cockatoo. Absolutely just destroyed them, right? But we couldn't find where the Wampa was. I was like, what did we do with the Wampa? And they were like, couldn't find it. It was just gone. Now, what's this guy saying? How's that work? Lando and Han weren't even in the rebel military and organization. They go from scoundrels to, from scoundrels and con men. And I guess it's going to go to generals in the Rebel Alliance. You know what? They needed them. And in the end, it worked out. Friggin' Rebel generals. Exactly. Because story. Anyway, we just lost the Wampa, and then we were a bit sad. We were even more sad at the fact that we lost Luke and Leia, because at that point, I don't even think we could find a Luke and Leia again. And we went home without him. Sometime later, Space Yeti, sometime later, our granddad decided that he would come and drive from where he was to go visit us in the Northern Territory. So we'd made the drive, now he's going to come and make the drive. When he got there, he came up to me and he said, now I was driving and I heard this rattling under my car, and I thought that it was something wrong with the car. So I looked underneath, and what did I find? And he pulls out from behind his back, and he's holding the Wampa. Now, apparently what we'd done is we were under the car mucking around, I don't know why, and we hooked his arms around something attached to the car, and the only damage that had been done was a little scuff on one of his feet, and that was it. Other than that, he made the full trip on the undercarriage of my granddad's car. And now at that point, Mum's like, well, now this has true sentimental value. I'm going to keep this in a safe place. It's no longer a toy anymore. We're like, what do you mean? we want to still play with the Wampa, but we weren't allowed to. Mum confiscated it and put it in one of her safe boxes. And bless her, I've got no idea where that Wampa is to this day. So who knew? It's gone. How are you, Beta Ray Bob? Shadows of the Empire. I like Shadows of the Empire. What did you guys think of Shadows?
Loved it. Still love it. Fantastic series.
What an event that was. It had absolutely no movie attached to it. Video games, comic books, the TV, commercials, soundtrack. It had a soundtrack for a movie that didn't exist.
Yeah. Everything. They did everything except make the film. And I think that was...
So,
they were testing to see whether... I think George was, thinking about doing the prequel trilogy. And wanted to test the market, see if there was still the interest there. So, yeah, they did everything except the film. There was the novel, you had the comic series, which told a parallel story. Had the audio version of the story, like I say, the soundtrack, video game, range of action figures, posters, the whole 9 yards. Everything but the film.
So 8 yards.
Yeah.
We had the whole 8 yards. How are you, buddy? Good morning to you. I think that if they did an animated show today, I think that would go pretty well. Like, they got all the ingredients there. They could do it. Dash Render, what a cool guy.
Oh, yeah.
Was it the Outrider?
The Outrider,
yeah. So cool. So because now Space Commander said that he wanted to humbly back out of picking any Star Wars toys because he didn't want to create a scene. And you'd think as a good friend, I would be like, okay, I understand, no problem. But instead I was like, dude, don't be a fucking baby and give me 3 figures, dude. And he's like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. And I was like, buddy, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm trying to put a show together. Bloody send me 3. And he's like, no, I'll do 3 Action Force instead. And then I was like, fine. But in defiance, I've decided instead to move over to, before we go to Space Commander's 3 Action Force characters, I've decided instead to pick one of Space Commander's favorite Kenner figures from a different toy line. And we got Friar Tuck. There you go.
There's a bit of Star Wars in there, a little bit of Star Wars in there.
Yeah, underneath. He's a Gamorrean guard, I think, isn't he?
Well, that would make sense. Now, Gaz, I think this looks more like me than that Rebel guy did. I definitely have a bit of a Tuck look going on. So I've gone ahead and put the no logo over the Star Wars Friar Tuck. Now, I actually really did like this figure. I liked the entire toy line, to be honest. I know it was a mix of Super Friends or DC characters, and one of them was this guy. Now, I hate to do it, Spacey, but at least one more. We're going to look at the Gamorrean guard real quick. Now,
there he is.
Now, it's a sneaky segue, but this is a great looking toy, and I had one of these in my collection too, and I thought it was great. Did anyone else have the Gamorrean guard?
Yeah. Fantastic figure.
He is so good. Also relatable looking. But what a great, it's kind of got like an orcish look to it. The green skin, the pig snap. But I thought it was great. But there is the comparison too, and I got to tell you, this is the most work I've ever put into any slides. So, but I often thought it was a 1-for-1 Gamorrean guard to Friar Tuck, but as we're looking at it, there's quite a few differences. So the shoulder pads aren't quite the same. The arms themselves aren't really quite the same. The legs are probably the closest to the original figure, but even the stomach and around the waist part, the belt's different. He's got a dagger attached to his belt. So if this originated, he doesn't have the chest emblem that the Gamorrean guard has. So if he was based on the Gamorrean guard, but not exactly the Gamorrean, so why would they bother? Because they just put a robe over him anyway. So either they retooled it dramatically, or
the torso was definitely retooled heavily. I mean, the arms and legs are, because you can see the pauldrons on the shoulders look pretty close. and on the wrists as well. So, and he's got the clenched fist and the open hand. So I think that maybe the limbs, they reused the tooling for the limbs and then just modified the tooling for the body to make it look more medieval rather than Star Warsy, I guess.
Still cool though, and in a pinch, I guess you could use him as the Rancor trainer.
Oh yeah,
good shout.
Did they ever make that guy on? I can't recall.
The Rancor Keeper, we did have a figure for the Rancor Keeper, and you could put, the Rancor's Keeper's hood on. I'm guessing that might fit on Friar Tuck there.
I would also like to see the cloak on the Gamorrean guard that came with Friar Tuck. Do you think he's wearing those furry undies under bike shorts, or is that a bodysuit? You know what? Some things we will never know.
That's a George question.
That's all of the Star Wars slides I have, so we're going to get to Spacey's favorite Action Force figures. Here's a foreign card version. Stole all of these images from the internet. If you own this image, let me know, because I stole it.
I as I say, I wasn't trying to be contrarian or anything. It's just I'm trying to be a positive kind of guy, and I try to avoid a subject.
And here I am yanking your chain.
where I know I'm going to be getting angry and upset. I don't want to when Brian's taken the time to come here and talk to us about his book projects that he's working on, and I just don't want to tarnish his opportunity. But yeah, Space Commander. So yes, my number one guy.
So what's his name in the comic though? Because he goes by a different name, right? Like he's the Space Commander, but he's named something else.
Yeah, his file card name is Chuck Connors, and his code name is Sky Raider.
That's it. Yes.
But as little boys, when we were collecting these, we always just went by the name on the front of the packet, and the front of the packet was usually their title. So his title was Space Commander, or Commander del Espace, as you can see in this international version.
Yes.
And it may just seem like as a guy in a jumpsuit with a hat, there's not much to it, but where some of the others have got like built-in weapons or a cool space helmet or something unusual like that. This guy doesn't have that. But the cool thing there is you could imbue the character with so much of your own ideas. You can think of him as if you got like the space engineer, for example, you're going to be using that toy to work on the other, the machines, the vehicles. He'll be repairing them. Why? Because he's an engineer. He's got a gun, so he might get into a firefight, but his role is to work on the, and like the scuba divers and characters like that, they're going to be, in water themed play. But with a character like this, where it is kind of vague and non-specific, you could put him anywhere. Primarily in space, of course.
Yes.
And besides, I think he's got quite a stylish look,
Hey.
Agreed.
Oh man, someone will recognise. Yeah, so the toy fair that me and my buddy went to last weekend. Of course, being a massive nerd, I went in a sort of a partial Space Commander uniform. And somebody recognised it and came over and wanted to take my picture and everything. So
that's cool.
That was cool, but very strange.
So by partial, do you mean like you were wearing shorts and flip flops?
Yes.
Right.
No, I was wearing a thong. No, I had I had this outfit on, but I had my jacket over the top of it because it's still wintry. It's still a bit wintry.
I gotcha. Now, what's the weather going to be like in October so I can plan? Is it jacket weather?
Well, you probably need a jacket, I'd say.
Yeah. Last year was weird though because the summer kind of went on quite late, so sort of September it's still quite warm.
We were at a roll call last October, and I think it was sunny, it was bright. So it was it wasn't like summer weather, but it was nice.
Well, knowing my luck, I'll get all of this winter stuff, and you guys will have a heat wave. So Gaz says, if you combine Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, and a mix in with some James Bond and Dan Dare, sprinkle in some Phantom and Doc Savage, you get Space Commander.
You see, Gaz and I are so on the same page when it comes to the old black and white movies, because of that's what I was about to say. Is that with this, you've got this lightning bolt on his chest, just like Flash Gordon, and the tall boots, like Buck Rogers, all those classic sci-fi heroes. Dan Dare is a perfect example, and because this figure is a little bit of a blank slate, you can imbue so much of that onto the figure.
Beta Ray Bob saying it's a shame that Hasbro and Mattel don't do toy lines cross media anymore. It is a shame. Now, especially when you got some of your outfit supplied by Gaz, because it was almost impossible for you to find a baseball style shirt with the correct color combination.
Yeah, it's so easy to get a white shirt with grey sleeves, but to get a grey shirt with white sleeves, it was impossible. So I ended up finding a place in America that did them, and they wouldn't ship to the UK. So, bless him, Gaz helped me out. I had to enlist his help, and we got the shirts. I paid for them. They got them sent to Gaz in the States. Gaz then sent them over to England. And once they arrived there, they were packaged up in the supply rocket and sent up to the space station. So I finally got the new uniforms. I still have my old uniform, but the trouble with that one is it's very hot because it's like 3 layers deep, whereas this is just 1 layer. It's nice and cool. So,
nice.
so hopefully I won't be.
Well, you know what cool is. Speaking of alternate uniforms, we got this fella.
Yes.
Ooh, look at that.
This is the as I've mentioned before a couple of times, this was hey, there he is. This was actually when I was a kid buying Action Force. This was one of the last figures I bought, even though this is the one I wanted the most. It was just so hard to find. It was impossible. We go to the toy shop every weekend and have a look through their figures, and they just didn't have him. And then one day, right towards the end of Action Force, when the Palitoy figures were being sort of phased out and the Hasbro ones were coming in, there he was, hanging on a peg. I couldn't believe it. We finally found him. But as you've pointed out, he has a different logo on his chest, and this is the German version of Space Force. Weltraum Anti-Terror Team. Sorry if I've said it wrong. But yeah, as kids, we didn't know what that was. So the logo is actually WATT, Weltraum Anti-Terror Team, with a dagger kind of motif. And to us, we didn't know it's a WATT. We weren't sure what it says, but it looked like the SAS Force logo because of the dagger.
Yeah.
So as kids, me and my brothers we thought maybe it was like a factory seconds or something, or maybe they accidentally put a load of Space Commanders through and stamped them with the SAS logo. But then we were looking at it thinking, well, it's the wrong color to be SAS. And of course, it doesn't look like SAS. We couldn't quite make out the letters to say what it did say. But it was a total mystery to us. Now, of course, with the internet and, all these wonderful books about the history.
What book are you talking about?
This one here. My Palitoy Story.
Yes.
We now have these lots of information available to us. I first sort of came across all this information on the internet when, going back like 20 odd years now, when the internet was in its infancy. But Blood for the Baron .uk, they had the history on there, and now you can talk to each other over the internet now, as we are and often do. And as I say, we've got these wonderful books now. There's so much information now. There's a wealth of information. So we know now that is actually a WATT logo on its chest, and that
I think it would look cooler if it said GAZZ and it was Gaz.
Homeboy Gaz. But yeah, so now we know the history of the figure and why he has a different logo. He had been manufactured and intended for the German marketplace or the European marketplace, and yet that's not where I found him. I found him in a toy shop in Bury St Edmunds.
Well, you know, we did learn from speaking to Jeff Maisie in our Total Star Wars Toys, the Palitoy Saga book, that Palitoy, everything was kind of packed and prepared in Colville, and then moved out to the different European markets, and they for products that was specifically going into Germany, they had to make various changes to that because there was a ban on kind of weapons. They couldn't have guns. They had to have lasers. If it was like in the fantasy space, it was okay. If it was in the real world kind of space, you know, wasn't good. The Red Shadow's skull and crossbones had to be removed for the German market as well. But what Jeff also said was that if they weren't able to move product in those European regions, Palitoy would take it back and they would try and move it out to their UK distribution network. So that's why you would find not just with Action Force, but with Star Wars too, you could find stuff that would crop up at retail, maybe towards the end of those lines, that had non-English languages on them. So that I guess it's that kind of policy that would explain how you've found a German space commander in a toy store in England.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise because I'd been looking for him for years, and as I say, we didn't really understand the ins and outs of it at the time. That one range of Action Force was being phased out and a new one was coming in, but we had noticed it was getting harder to find the figures. So in those sort of waning days, to finally find him, that was quite a moment in Little Space Commander's life.
We do have links in the description for all the books that we're mentioning, so do check those out too. The next one that Spacey decided to pick was Z-Force or Z-Force Infantryman.
I think you got it right the first time.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Again, this one, in a similar way to the Space Commander figure, where you've got a certain amount of nondescript aspect to the character, you can sort of imbue your own personality onto them. So before I had the Space Commander figure, when we were playing, me and my brothers and the other kids in the street, if we were playing with our Action Force figures, I would the figure who would be me, so to speak, I would use the Z-Force Infantryman, because of you can put him in any situation. You know, you can have him driving the Jeep, or in the tank, or on a boat, or trotting through the battlefields on land. You know, toting his machine gun. It's a great figure, and there were slight variations of it. If there's the version with the red pouches, which is here. Yeah, that's Wheels. He was
the Jeep driver.
That's right. He's the Jeep driver. He's got the red pouches on his hips there, whereas the standard guy, has black pouches.
I see.
And it's quite a versatile character. The camo prints would sometimes differ slightly. Some had larger areas of black and smaller. I know that this one is the one I played with as a kid. The detail on the face is printed slightly softer than on some of the others, and for some reason this little doohickey on his belt, where are we? He's bright red. He's got bright red goggles and bright red on his belt, and like I said, kind of a softer look on the face. Whereas the other ones, much darker, and some kind of a harsher look. So even though they're supposed to be the same figure, you can still spot little differences. So I always know that was me before Space Commander came along. It's an interesting figure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you sitting there with a full green outfit, with a hoodie and goggles, in another universe.
Yeah, as you say, the full green outfit. On the head, he's actually wearing. It's sculpted in, but he's got on there hat, goggles, and then a hood pulled up over the top of it. Now, when you're just looking at that kind of figure without all his gear, with all that piled up on his head, it does make him look a bit like Beavis and Butthead. He's got quite a big head. But once you start putting all the gear on him, the backpack, and you've got the machine gun there, which slots into the top of the backpack. Once you start to equip him with all his bits and bobs, it all pads out, and it all looks right. It just everything fits together perfectly. And like I say, you could army build with these. These were perfect for that sort of play. But the interesting thing is, whereas some of the figures, they would reuse the heads, like the Assault Force figures, they would reuse the head over and over again in different color schemes to represent different figures. They didn't really do that with the Z-Force Infantryman. And the only other, if anyone else has found something, by all means put it in the chat. But the only place I've ever found where his head was reused on a different figure was in the prototype for the Arctic Assault Mountain Arctic guy. So this is the version that was released. However, the prototype, and I don't have the actual prototype. This is a custom version that somebody made for me, designed to look like the prototype, and the prototype has the same head as the Z-Force Infantryman. So I wonder if they were working on this, then decided that they weren't going to go with this version. They were going to go in a different direction and make this guy instead. But then you've got all the tooling, I should say, for this character. So what do? Well, don't let it go to waste. Just put him in camo and make him a Z-Force Infantryman.
Yeah.
So I suspect that's what happened.
I love that you brought that up. And in Total Action Force Volume 3, which is coming out a little bit later this year, you do see photos of those prototypes mounting an Arctic Explorer. So when they were developing Action Force first, they had intended to have the that head that you see there on the Z-Force Infantryman, that head on the Mountain and Arctic figure, but it's not working. But they also had separately. They had an Arctic Assault figure that used the same head as the Ground Assault figure, and these were two separate figures in the line. So, but when it went into production, they only used the Arctic Assault head for both the Arctic Assault and the Mountain and Arctic figure. So we don't know the rationale behind that, and it could have just been a very simple. We've got this tooling done up. We're injecting molding these heads right now. It was probably just more time efficient. They did run over time, like those Action Force Series 1 figures didn't come out until August of '82, but they were supposed to come out in like May, June of '82. So because they were running behind schedule, they may have cut some corners just to try and get the product out there quicker. But the design of that head is, it's a brilliant piece of sculpting. And I was always enamored with that kind of, the hood over the cap and goggles. I always thought that was a great look. It looked very different. And as you say, when he's all geared up, he's got the wearable accessories on. It's a superb looking figure. So clearly the design team and Palitoy just thought, let's not let a good design go to waste. Action Force had exploded like in '82. It was huge. It outsold Star Wars in just like whatever it was, the 5 months or something that it was on the market. It outperformed Star Wars in '82. So in '83 they were able to maybe it was a case that this is a safe bet here. So we can put a bit more time in, a bit more money in, and we'll start reusing some of that tooling that we haven't taken advantage of yet. And it's great that they brought it out with this figure. I think that's as Spacey said there, it was never reused ever again. It's the only figure that ever saw that kind of head tooling. So but it's great that it finally came out.
Well, Lilith has top 5. So we've got Commander Infantryman, SAS Man with gas mask, that Snowman Action Pilot in black, and the Australian Anzac figure would be their number 1. We do have another one for Spaceman. Spaceman's final one. I believe I got the right one. Deep Sea Diver.
Yeah, I just wait
Awesome.
a minute, here he is. Yeah, so deep sea diver came with the AF7, as we see there, which I think I sent you one of these. Didn't I
Yep,
say so?
I got one of those.
This version has got a cloaking device that keeps vanishing. But yeah, so in the early days of Action Force, they were before they had decided to produce the different teams of Space Force and Q Force and so on. They originally were doing little action figures based on the most popular Action Man designs, and of course one of the most popular ones being the Diver. So this was one of the first ones that came out, and it became such a to me and my brothers, it became such an iconic image of Action Force. Was this fantastic looking deep sea diver? I mean, he's got the weighted boots, just as you would have in real life. You can actually attach a hose there to the top of the helmet, so that when you're playing with him in your bathtub, he can go underwater. Very, it's such a great design, and like I say, very, very iconic. They repainted him when the teams were introduced. They made him they made him a Q-Force character. And of course, they again use such a versatility. The use of reuse of a sculpt. They turned him into Muton, the bad guy robot, and because of the holes in the helmet, that then gave them the opportunity to put attachments into the helmet to make him more of a mechanical menace. And whenever even though nowadays you would think of this kind of diving suit as being like older technology, to me it's still such a fantastic icon of the Action Force era. So much so, one day the Mrs. Space Commander and I were down on Earth. We were visiting a place in England called the Peak District, and there's this very interesting, intriguing town there called Matlock, where what happened was like a couple of 100 years ago, the people who lived there, they were sort of enamored with the seaside and seaside culture, but their town is in the middle of the land, so nowhere near the sea. So they decided that they would, I think it's called Matlock, they decided to retheme the town as though it was a seaside town, and it's got everything except the sea. So all the things you would associate, everything you would associate with being at the seaside is in the middle of these mountains, nowhere near the sea. But very nautical theme. Mrs. Space Commander and I were walking up a particular street, and out front of one of the shops, standing tall, was one of these guys. Now I didn't stand there and think, oh look, a historical deep sea diver. As soon as I saw this, I thought Action Force. I went over and I had a look at all the buckles and everything, got intrigued by it, and like I say, you might look at that and think, oh, old technology, and sort of dismiss it. But to me, this is Action Force, and it's such an icon of the series. So yeah, I definitely pick that guy and put him in my top 3 as well.
I love that you've picked that, and here's an interesting fact. You showed the box there, Zazel, with the AF7 and the figure in the box. That was the only Series 1 vehicle to come with a figure, and in terms of the big vehicles, and there is a story as to why that is the case, and the story is it was never supposed to be a vehicle. So, and this is all detailed in Total Action Force Volume 3. And we have drawings of, it was actually, Spacey will know the blister card as packs, where you get like a very small vehicle and a figure on a card back rather than in a box. And you have the AF9, which is the Arctic vehicle. And then we also had the US paratrooper was again as a big accessory, the parachute with the figure on a card back. And in the case of the deep sea diver, he was to be on a card back as well, with a much smaller flotation type vehicle, like a flotation platform, probably similar in size to the AF9. But when they were in the design process, they they were trying to figure out how they would engineer how this kind of smaller, platform would actually float. And someone said, well, look, it would be quicker if we just use the existing flotation device that we've already developed for the AF5 multi-mission craft. So it meant then what was supposed to be a small accessory type vehicle got developed into being a much bigger vehicle to fit with the flotation device that came with the AF5. And then, of course, they couldn't put it on a blister card anymore. They had to put it on in a box. But the concept of still pairing it with a figure, they never dropped that idea. And that's why the AF7 is the only Series 1 vehicle with an actual driver included with it.
Knowing is indeed half the battle. So, can you guys tell me, does the helmet come off?
No.
The helmet doesn't come off. It's still part of the sculpt. However, as we little boys discovered back in the 80s, if you get something like a cotton bud or something and poke it through the holes in the helmet, you can turn the head. The head is articulated.
Oh, right. So is there a sneaky hidden head in Muton?
I suspect not. I don't think they would have sort of wasted the plastic on something you wouldn't see. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think they would have. If we lift up his scope there. Yeah, so underneath the scope, there's this sort of large round, looks like a scary mechanical eye.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they've fitted that into the aperture where the face would have been. So I suspect there's not a face under there. But,
Break it. Let's see.
Well, that's the thing I was just going to say. No one has ever managed to find out because Muton is completely indestructible. I remember back in the old days of bloodforthebaron.com, great website, check it out. There was a guy in there who would launch these into the air aboard fireworks, and the firework would explode. Cool. Yeah, the firework explodes, and Muton comes crashing back down to Earth. Absolutely fine. Just brush a bit of soot off him. Fine. You couldn't kill it with a stick.
Yeah. Or a rocket. And now this is going to sound really dumb. Now, Spacey, you sent me one of the yellow versions of this character, which I think is the Deep Sea Adventurer or something. I can't remember what his name
Defender.
is.
I think it's Defender.
Deep Sea Defender. You sent me one of these guys, and my first thought was that he had blue cross swords on his chest. And to be honest, it's only just occurred to me now that those are straps and buckles. So
you're right. They are sort of straps across the front of his suit, but they do by coincidence they look like a couple of pirate swords.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, enough for me to just realize that they're not. Yeah. I mean, what a great trio of divers / evildoers. But it always did strike me as awesome how they were able to repurpose a lot of the Action Force figures in ways that weren't automatically noticeable. So for the back end of this show, Brian, why don't you hit us up with what you've got coming up? You've hinted at book 3. I've got links in the description for some of the other books that are available.
So yeah, Total Action Force book 3, that was funded on Kickstarter there late last year. So we're in the final stages of kind of pulling that design together. That's going to be going to print very soon, and really looking forward to kind of getting that into people's hands. And that book it's essentially a much more detailed history of Palitoy's Action Force than what we were able to achieve when we did the Total Action Force, the Battle Years. And what made that book possible was having worked with Bob Breakin on his own Palitoy history, My Palitoy Story. Bob uncovered lots more information around the history of all the different brands that Palitoy worked on. And there's the cloaking device kicking in again. So when me and Bob worked on My Palitoy Story, we uncovered Palitoy newsletters, meeting minutes, photographs from Bob's personal collection that were on transparency in boxes. Right. And then Bob's fellow designer and good friend, Brian Turner, just before he passed away, he gave Bob a suitcase full of transparencies of photos that he had taken at various toy fairs in the design studio. And again, it was all stuff that we'd never seen before for Action Man, Action Force, Star Wars, things like that. So with all that, meant new material, I felt it was a good time to maybe revisit the Action Force history, because there was a lot of gaps in that history that we weren't aware of. So we were able to fill those in, and that's all detailed in Total Action Force Volume 3. And then the other design team that would have, they were a separate company called Raffo and Pape. Palitoy would subcontract design out to them when their own team was overwhelmed, and Raffo and Pape, they allowed me to interview them about Action Force for this book, and agreed to give me full access to their design archive, which is going to be reproduced in the book as well. So for Action Force fans, this book, you're going to see all of the carded versions of the figures and vehicles that were released. You're going to see all the concept drawings that led to those finished products, and the ideas that were never developed. You're going to see prototypes. You're going to see Toy Fair photos, Action Force's debut at Toy Fair in January 1982. You're going to see that.
That's cool.
And so much more stuff in there. So it's a really expanded history of Palitoy's Action Force. And I'm particularly excited for people to see what we didn't get in 1985, which included things like a Red Shadows base, new design for the Red Shadows. It's a very, very exciting project to be involved in, and of course, a lot of that content went into the Star Wars book that we funded last year. So Total Star Wars Toys, the Palitoy Saga. We were able to tell a very expanded history of Palitoy's involvement in the Star Wars in the early merchandising history or period for Star Wars, and that book is out. So we've already fulfilled all our rewards to our backers. They're all gone out, and that is available from totaltoybooks.com, or if you live in the UK and Ireland, it's up on Amazon's UK and Ireland marketplaces, which is another handy way to pick it up too.
Perfect.
So, we've got another project that's a revised version of
that's
My
right.
Palitoy Story.
So My Palitoy Story is sold out. That's we had a complete sellout of kind of the first edition. That is now out of print. There's still a big demand for people to get Bob's book, because it's a very, it doesn't focus in on a single toy line. It's the whole history of Palitoy, and all the different brands that it worked on. And because this year is Action Man's 60th anniversary, we felt it was a good time to maybe bring out a second edition. Bob has put together 32 pages of extra content just about Action Man. So that's articles written by Bob, but also written by former Action Man brand manager Nick Farmer, Action Man designer Greg Hughes, and then you've got on the tooling manager Roger Morrison. He's contributed an article. John Holmes, the manufacturing manager, he's contributed an article. So there's a lot more Action Man specific content in there, and of course that archive of never before seen images, we're able to kind of pull from that to illustrate these 32 new pages. So that, and it was a soft cover edition as well. So the first edition was hardback. It's a pretty hefty price point on that one. This is going to be like half the price, and right now that is live on Kickstarter to fund that one. So we're nearly 2/3 of the way there with our funding. It's had a great reaction. We still got 15 days to go. So if you're interested in the history of the full history of Palitoy, and with a nice little focus on Action Man as well, head over to kickstarter.com, do a search for My Palitoy Story, or hit the link in the description on this video, and please pledge and support Bob Reekin in keeping the Palitoy history alive.
Yeah, it's a great way to keep the various brands, but particularly for us, keep Action Force alive in the minds of the fans. And at the moment there's a lot of projects based on this toy line, and if we can keep it going, if we don't support the projects, they'll go away. So now is the time. It's the rallying call.
There's a lot of great people in the fan community that are working really hard to keep the legacy of Palitoy and its various brands alive. So, and my experience is that the community is embracing those projects. So let's keep that going. And it's good for all of us if we support all these projects.
That's what I was trying to say. Brian said it better.
Couldn't have said it better ourselves. Brian, thanks for joining us. We look forward to catching up every time that you do. We hope to catch up again before another year goes by. I can't believe it's almost been a year since the last one.
Catching up in October. I will make the trip in October.
Perfect. Excellent. I'm trying to drag along a bunch of my other buddies to come along too, and make it a whole big affair. But there's a lot of people over there already that we're keen to catch up with. We might even go on the bus, driven by TJC himself, the Teejmeister General. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We could sink a couple of beers and talk Action Force well into the next day probably, or as however it takes for a Space Commander to get beamed back up onto the space station. But we'll do this again soon, before October, hopefully. But it was great to catch up with everybody. Do check out the descriptions, the link in the description. I'm mumbling my words like Space Commander does. Heck of a transmission. Thanks, Gaz. Appreciate it. I'll be catching up with Gaz in a couple of hours. I haven't made the stream yet. We'll catch up with Gaz in a couple of hours. We're going to hang out with Hans again. And my morning will be his evening after he's gone to see basketball. He's going to go do something. He's going to go see some sports. He's going to see sports happen. Go sports. Go team. But yeah, it's been great. The links are in the description. Do check them out. Pick up the books before they sell out. Because they are good stuff. I've got some stuff to grab from Space Commander once I get there. But yeah, thanks again. We'll leave it there. It's getting close to. It's after midnight here, so I'm going to say see you later.
Wow.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Brian again for hanging out. We'll do this again soon.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Good luck.
Full force.